Kitty, do you like video games? Yeah, you do, because you're so pretty. How do you do, fellow gamers? This is yet another one of those end-of-the-year ranking lists. In 2024, I discovered the open secret of how a lot of YouTubers capture footage of older games. This allowed me to relive a lot of my childhood favorites and see if they still hold up. And if they do, how do they compare to more modern games? So with that being said, I guess let's go find out. Shortly after giving out this award in 2018, I got tired of keeping up with every yearly release. Now that these awards are back, we're opening it up to any game regardless of the year it came out, unless it's one of the 6 on screen now.
I want you to use all your powers and all your skills. I don't want his mother to see him this way. And look how they massacred my boy.
I don't know how to put my feelings about this game into words, so here's a heavy-handed metaphor. It's safe to say that I will never play the definitive edition of this game ever again. What starts as a generic military shooter stays a generic military shooter, just with aliens, or mutants, or some shit. This game can only be described as the mediocre love child of Call of Duty and Half-Life.
Oh, hell! It's crapping out those octopus dog things!
And that comparison, quite frankly, feels unbelievably disrespectful to Half-Life. If I had to write a dictionary definition for the phrase as mediocre as possible, I would just put a picture of this game's cover art next to it. The gameplay is clunky and the story is just plain stupid in so many ways. As a big-time Call of Duty Zombies fan, imagine my excitement when I found out that through PlayStation Plus, I had not only Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, but all of the DLC for it. That excitement quickly faded as all of the Zombies maps are aggressively mediocre. The campaign is somehow dumber than the average Call of Duty campaign, but it's still fun to play. That being said, the fun I've been having with the multiplayer sort of makes up for those shortcomings. To say that I hate all of the vehicle missions that this game makes you do would be an understatement. I also feel that most of the levels in this game are too small for what the game is trying to do. Luckily, that was an issue fixed in later games. Now, we'll just sit back as I show Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley how to shred. Grand Theft Auto 3 is easily the game that benefited the most from the definitive editions. GTA 3 is not only a classic, it's one of the most influential games of all time. Even though the definitive edition isn't amazing, I'm glad a new generation has a much more accessible way to experience this game. Similarly to Grand Theft Auto 3's Definitive Edition, Grand Theft Auto Vice City's Definitive Edition isn't amazing, but it is still a good way for a new generation of gamers to experience this classic game. Within the context of Grand Theft Auto games as a whole, I would put Liberty City Stories on par with GTA 3 in the B to B plus range. It's a solid game, but it does kinda end up here in the middle when comparing it to the other games on this list. Tony Hawk's American Wasteland was one of my favorite games growing up, but playing it now, there are a lot of not great things about it. The biggest criticism I can give this game is that much like Underground 1, it got too carried away with its ideas and that took away from the core skateboarding experience. This game does get extra bonus points for what it did with its soundtrack, specifically the My Chemical Romance cover of Astro Zombies, which is on par, if not better, than the original Misfits version. After the NFL went exclusive with EA, it opened up a void for football games. Not having to worry about that NFL license, Midway was allowed to take some pretty wild risks. An M-rated football game was wild enough, but this game revels in the darker side of sports. Things like the relationship between politics and sports ownership, performance-enhancing drugs, gambling, injuring other players on purpose, on-field brawls, usage of painkillers to overcome injuries, and as much sexually charged imagery as you can possibly imagine. These are all layered on top of the classic Blitz gameplay to create a game that is fun for a few hours before every game just evolves into which team can use their clash meter the most. Blitz the League is an entertaining game that explores aspects of sports that I never thought games were willing to explore at the time or even now. I would love to see what a Blitz the League 3 would look like in a world with legal sports betting and widespread beliefs that every game is rigged. As someone who grew up exclusively playing the PS2 version of this game, getting my hands on the PS3 version felt like playing a completely different game. There's more content, the connected open world flows better than American Wastelands, and they put skateboarding back as the main focus of, get this, a skateboarding game. Weird how that works. We'll just ignore the fact that the remaining Tony Hawk game on this list has a lot of non-skateboarding elements to it. Coming in at number 10, we have NHL Rock the Ring for the PlayStation 1. Hockey video games tend to be some of the most fun, and they get even better when they take a more arcade-like approach. Throw in an absolutely banging soundtrack and you have a recipe for one of the most fun sports games ever made.
Rattler boy doesn't look so cocky after that hit.
Coming in at number 9 on the list is the only game on this list that actually came out in 2024. As far as I'm concerned, the gameplay foundation they put down for this game is phenomenal, but everything that was built on top of it leaves a lot to be desired. My hope is that for College Football 26 and beyond, that they become the game that we wanted this one to be. But at the end of the day, it is EA, and who knows, there's a decent chance this actually is the best that we could get. With that being said, let's go Buffs.
Got his man quickly.
If I was still doing my 5 days of awards for these games and had an award for game that made me say, what the fuck is happening the most times, not only would this game win, I would have to name the award after it. Also, there's a weird dungeon crawling side mode where you level up characters in a different side mode that's like a board game kind of thing. I don't understand it, but it's a lot of fun. This game is the embodiment of the phrase, lovable insanity. If we're being honest, Fallout 4 is the third best Bethesda published Fallout game, but I'll be damned if it's not one of the most fun games I've ever played. With all of the updates and mods on PC, the content is practically endless. Every time I come back to this game, I find 10 new reasons to love it. That being said, just give me the damn remakes of Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas in the Fallout 4 engine, and I will never ask for anything ever again. Coming in at number 6 is Guitar Hero 3 World Tour for the Xbox 360. If you want a real challenge, try playing this game on an emulator with an Xbox controller and a noticeable amount of input lag. In spite of that, I still enjoyed this game just as much as I did when I first picked up that plastic guitar. Anyway, let's not gloss over the fact that a song about white, well-off liberals being casually racist while expressing sympathies for those less fortunate than them, while actually doing nothing to help, made it into a fucking Guitar Hero game when Guitar Hero was one of the hottest things in all of pop culture. Coming in at number 5 is Tony Hawk's Underground 2 for the PS2. This game seemed to address every criticism of the first game that I brought up earlier. There are less annoying vehicle segments, and the ones that do exist don't bring the game to a screeching halt like they do in the first game. On top of that, the levels feel like they're an appropriate size for all of the stuff you'll be doing in them. To be completely honest, playing this game made me miss skateboarding games more than anything else. Coming in at number 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, Downhill Domination for the PlayStation 2. Imagine if you took the combat of Twisted Metal, the tricks from a Tony Hawk game, and then you threw those into a BMX racing game. That is exactly what this game is, and it nails every one of those aspects. This game is so damn good that it hurts my feelings that there's never been a remake, remaster, or sequel to it. It's a damn shame.
Great job, first place.
Coming in at number 3 is Spec Ops: The Line. I played the PC version for this, and this game has been discussed to death, so in the year 2024 I really don't need to go too deep into it. The themes it plays with, as well as its commentary on video game war and actual war, are things I never thought I'd see a game even attempt, and I'm not exactly surprised that no AAA game has really even tried since. I finished this game 4 hours before I started the Black Ops Cold War campaign, and everything Spec Ops was criticizing about the whole genre still rang just as true today as they did 12 years ago. If you want to hear people without significant amounts of brain damage discuss the themes of this game, I highly recommend the 2-part Something Rotten podcast hosted by the phenomenal Jacob Geller, which will be linked in the description. In short, Spec Ops: The Line manages to out Call of Duty, while also being an on-point criticism of that style of game. Coming in at number 2 is College Football Revamped. I got into College Football Revamped way too late, but as they say, it's better late than never. NCAA 14 felt just as good as ever, and it was more than enough to hold me over until College Football 25 came out a few months after I got Revamped all set up. This fan-made mod added so many new teams and uniforms that it was almost overwhelming, and using the NCAA 14 Dynasty tool allowed me to set up a 12, then a 14-team playoff system, where I was able to build Syracuse, Louisiana Monroe, and Hawaii into perennial powerhouses. If you aren't satisfied with College Football 25, I highly recommend tracking down a copy of NCAA 14 by any means necessary, then setting up College Football Revamped and the Dynasty tool, because it is absolutely amazing. Coming in at the top spot is Bloodborne for the PS4. When it comes to gaming discourse, I despise the word masterpiece because it gets thrown at basically anything that has a working menu at this point. But Bloodborne is one of the very few that feels deserving of that word. Its combat is still the best I've ever played. The rally system, where you regenerate health by being aggressive and dealing damage, is still one of the most well-utilized mechanics in any game I've ever played. The world and level design are immaculate, its visual design and art style are impeccable, and its soundtrack is an auditory feast that the whole body can enjoy. In spite of how many Vati video lore videos I watch, I will never understand what's actually going on in the story, but I also don't really care, because I just want to go around, fight everything until the end of time. Lord help us all if they ever do make a 60 frames per second remaster of this game. Bloodborne was an instant classic the moment they shortened the loading screens, and was a masterpiece in every sense of the word the moment that it came out. I'm not saying Bloodborne should be in everyone's top 10 games of all time, but I am saying it's definitely in mine. Congratulations to 2024's Game of the Year, Bloodborne. And now we head over to our Wall of Fame where Bloodborne will take its rightful place. So there you have it. That's going to do it for the 2024 Game of the Year video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. All I know is Kitty and I, we're about to go to bed. Isn't that right? Yeah. Pretty girl. Catch you later.